Greetings YouTube, back with you again, and as I said in the last video, there is a lot more on Cyberpunk 2077 coming, so let's get right into it. So for those of you that don't know, Cyberpunk has made a huge turnaround since the disastrous launch, and this is something that makes me feel really good. Being a fanboy, and I'm not at all ashamed to admit it, of several gaming studios like Square Enix, Bethesda, many of the things that Nintendo puts out, and yes, CD Projekt Red, we want to root for studios that can still get us excited because we have the likes of Activision Blizzard, EA, Ubisoft, and a host of other companies that turned heavily to the dark side and will probably never return. And we want to feel we can still forgive certain studios like CD Projekt Red, and know that they're going to bounce back and do the right thing. CD Projekt Red really did step up, and they pushed hard and put a lot of work into fixing this game because they knew that they were wrong. Patches fixed the game's combat, the AI, adjusting skills, fixing random bugs, and here in the last patch, 1.63, they finally hit on some of those long-running quest bugs that have been around since the start of the game, and that's all great, you know, props to them, but there's still one issue. After all those fixes, after all that hard work that they put into it, we still weren't given everything we had first expected. Is that harsh? Maybe. But it's reality. And let us be greedy gamers and expect more for a moment. You know, let us want no matter how hard they work to fix the game, because we are the consumers. We buy the product and we can choose not to. It's our expectations that need to be met. It's not for them to tell us what is considered right, what's considered fun, or tell us that we're wrong. I mean, if it's bad, we just let them know. So how do you rate a game when it takes over a year to make it great? And when many still feel we haven't gotten everything promised? You judge that by what they release next. Phantom Liberty seems like it's going to finally give us so many of the things that we first wanted. Many are calling this Cyberpunk 2077 2.0, a rebirth, a reinvention, a reboot of the very fundamentals and core of the game to finally branch and push into and give us things that we expected from the very beginning. So what are we getting with Phantom Liberty, and what should you expect? The vision and feel for this game has always been here. Broken as it was, we could see it, it was clear, and people really wanted it. And CD Projekt Red knows this, and with the launch of Phantom Liberty, they stated that we will see a complete rework of every system found inside the game. They said that no system was left untouched. I expect there to be tweaks and little changes to some systems, and then other systems seeing a complete overhaul. Things for me that really need a total makeover would be some things with the awful menu and item system, like for instance, where to find shards, trying to go through that menu. Maybe a little smoother transition when you get an on-screen text message, and then you go ahead and push the button to try to go into the menu to see the full conversation. Those are some things that for me always felt very clunky, and I always felt that there were just too many steps in the process. I'd also like to get out of the menu without having to hit the escape button multiple times, or just take like 3 or 4 times, you know, just some small quality of life things. But for me personally, those are some things that I would really love to see changed. Now onto systems we already know are being overhauled. First, the big one for a lot of players, and that's the vehicle combat. It's been confirmed that the long-awaited vehicle combat will be put into the game with the launch of Phantom Liberty. Not just gunning out your window though, which will be in the game, but it seems like there'll be some 007-esque traits, could I say? Maybe? What this will all include is pretty exciting to think about. The common gun attachment to the car is clearly something that we expect by default, but I like to anticipate what more we could get. I could see projectiles in the form of grenades or smoke bombs. Heck, drop some tricks like the Batmobile uses, you know, with the smoke, you got the ropes, you make the bat turn around the corner. Alright, kidding, but you know, that would actually be kind of cool. But yeah, just add some cool gadgets that we could use and allow us to customize vehicles maybe. I think that would be pretty nifty, just adding little devices to our cars. Make it kind of like the Cyberware system where we could add different things, we could switch them out, we could take some things out, add some new things in. Maybe that's hoping for a bit too much, but that's something that I think would be pretty cool. Speaking of Cyberware, this will be getting a complete overhaul and maybe the biggest system overhaul we see in the game. One of the biggest changes being the merger of armor stats into our Cyberware system. At the launch of Phantom Liberty, V will no longer gain armor stats through clothing. Instead, it will be directly linked to our Cyberware upgrades. That really does make sense. When you have a system like Cyber Implants, you would expect to be faster, stronger, and more resistant to things would be based on your cyberware, not based on which t-shirt or skater shoes or boots you decided to wear for the day. And since they already have a transmog system, I expect clothing to still have some value to it, maybe just a basic defense stat or something that makes new gear still appealing and makes you want to go out and get excited when you find it. We will also be able to make more upgrades and use more cyberware, but at a cost. CD Projekt Red said there will be a debuff system based on which kinds or how many implants you put on your V. And I think this is a good balance and a great way to not go into the full cyber psychosis thing. You know, as neat as that would be, it would be kind of unreal and it would be kind of hard to pull off in the game. So going for something simple and familiar to players like debuffs makes a lot of sense. You know, a lot of RPGs have, you know, the trait system that allows you to strengthen one stat at the expense of another, or you take some kind of negative status for picking up that other one, something like that. You know, having less resistance to certain things. This seems like a pretty safe way to do this and should add a bit more depth into how we personalize our V. And since I touched on the game's transmog system, that's something that they could update a little bit, but honestly, there's already a mod out there that does a fantastic job doing this. So this is something that I'm okay with if CD Projekt Red does do it, but if they don't, it's not going to be a worry to me. I'll continue to use Equipment-EX, and if you play on PC, it's a mod that I strongly suggest checking out. So we have armor, cyberware, vehicle combat changes, and that leaves the big overhaul for the skill tree. The images of the sneak peek at the new skill tree overhaul looks a lot cleaner, at least for me. It resembles more of a skill tree that I'm familiar with, and not a cluster of things crammed into different sections. Again, one of the biggest drawbacks for me has always been the UI found in the systems of the game. They just always seem too clustered, and again, you have to back out or you have to go into menus a couple layers deep to get to where you have to go. Something more direct, clean, and to the point like this is very welcoming to me. I really like it. This just looks a lot more efficient with the nodes, and again, it's just much more clean and looks like it's going to be a lot easier to navigate. And yeah, I'm really excited for this expansion. As you can probably tell, the city, the characters, the atmosphere of the base game, it really drew me in. The story, the areas, events that took place, it gets me excited to play and continue through this next chapter. And we can't forget the big addition of Dogtown to the world map in the game space, since this is where it seems the expansion will be starting. And though we don't know how much of the game will take place directly in Dogtown, it's safe to say that this will be adding a significant amount of gameplay, and as Keanu put it, it's going to give players a lot of things to do. For me, one of the most exciting things when expansion comes out is heading out to the new land, you know, seeing it for the first time, seeing that first major city that's been added. And so far, with what little we have seen in the trailers, Dogtown looks really good. I really hope that the story moves back and forth between the two though, you know, between Dogtown and what we already know and have in Night City. There's so much that can be added into Night City, and I think it would be silly, and I doubt CD Projekt Red's just going to forget about it. So probably we're going to spend a lot of time going back and forth between the two, you know. Much like how MMOs just vacate their old expansion lands, I always find that frustrating because it becomes part of the game and it becomes, you know, part of us and something that we experience in the game. So I like seeing things used, and I like seeing things used when expansions come out because, again, Night City is amazing and there's clearly a lot of room to add in new buildings to explore, or just add in new areas around parts of the city that we already know and that we're already accustomed to. I expect the addition of so many great characters and the continuation of those that we always know. Keanu being back in the game, of course, that's a great thing. And the addition of Idris Elba directly into the story, and even Sasha Grey as the voice of the Mox radio station DJ. Oh yeah, and there's going to be another radio station, which means there's going to be more music. And I just need to figure out how to balance this in Starfield. That is going to be the rough part. But for now, enjoy the rest of your day, your evening, or your night. Everybody stay safe, and I will see you all in the next video.